General Hospital spoilers keep pulling me back to that image of Sonny standing there with a gun in his hand while Josslyn is trapped somewhere she never should have been in the first place. And the strange thing is, the more I think about it, the less I believe this is only about a rescue. There's something heavier sitting underneath all of this. Something personal. Something ugly that's been building quietly for a while now. Because if you ask me, Sonny doesn't just shoot people anymore unless something inside him snaps first. And I cannot stop thinking about the possibility that Josslyn becomes that breaking point. The second I started piecing together the idea of Cassius holding Josslyn captive, my mind immediately went somewhere darker than I expected. Not because General Hospital hasn't done hostage stories before. We've seen those. We've lived through years of kidnappings, secret rooms, people tied to chairs under flickering warehouse lights. That part almost feels familiar at this point. But this feels different to me because of who Josslyn is right now. She's not a helpless kid anymore. That's what keeps bothering me. Josslyn has been moving through Port Charles lately with this energy that feels sharper, more reckless, almost like she believes she can handle things alone. And maybe that confidence is exactly why Cassius targets her. I keep coming back to that thought. There's a possibility he underestimates her at first, but then realizes too late that she's noticing things. Listening too carefully. Connecting dots she was never supposed to connect. And that's where Sidwell enters this whole mess. Guys, there is something about Sidwell that never sits right with me. Even during scenes where he's calm, smiling, talking business, I still feel this pressure underneath him, like violence is always one sentence away. The truth may be more complicated than it looks on the surface, but I honestly think Sidwell has been manipulating far more people in this town than we currently realize. Maybe Cassius works for him more directly than anybody suspects. Or maybe that's too obvious. Maybe Cassius believes he's acting independently, only to discover Sidwell has been using him the entire time. That actually feels more like General Hospital to me. Characters thinking they're in control right before the floor disappears beneath them. And if that's true, then Josslyn may accidentally uncover something much bigger than her own kidnapping. I could be wrong, but I keep replaying this scenario in my head where Josslyn overhears information she was never supposed to hear. Not just about Sidwell's business operations, but something connected to Sonny personally. Something damaging enough that Sidwell decides she cannot simply walk away anymore. That's when Cassius panics. Because I don't think Cassius is built for real pressure. He feels like the kind of character who can threaten somebody when the power balance favors him, but the second things spiral beyond control, he starts unraveling. And if Josslyn pushes back, fights him psychologically, maybe even manipulates him a little, I can absolutely see cracks starting to form. There's also this weird feeling I have that Josslyn may not appear terrified the entire time. Nervous, yes. Angry, definitely. But broken? No. And honestly, that's what makes the situation more dangerous. A scared hostage follows rules. A defiant hostage forces desperate decisions. And desperate people make fatal mistakes. That's where Sonny comes in. Not as the mob boss version everybody expects. Not even as the calculating strategist. I think this turns into something more emotional than Sonny intended. Maybe he hears Josslyn is missing and immediately thinks about Carly. Maybe he sees echoes of Michael and Morgan when they were younger. Maybe guilt hits him harder than expected because despite all the chaos in his life, he still sees himself as someone who protects family when it truly matters. But here's the part I cannot shake. I don't think Sonny initially plans to shoot Sidwell. I really don't. There's a possibility Sonny goes there intending to negotiate or intimidate him the way he usually does. Because Sonny understands consequences. He knows one bullet can start a war that never fully ends. Especially with someone like Sidwell, who seems connected to dangerous people outside Port Charles too. But then something changes. Maybe Sidwell threatens Josslyn directly. Maybe Cassius loses control. Or maybe Sonny sees genuine fear in Josslyn's face for the first time and something inside him just detonates. That's the image stuck in my head lately. Sonny pulling the trigger almost on instinct. Not calculated. Not clean. Emotional. And honestly, that scares me more than cold-blooded Sonny ever did. Because emotional Sonny leaves damage everywhere afterward. What fascinates me is what happens immediately after the gunshot. I don't even think the shooting itself is the real climax. I think the silence afterward matters more. The shock, the realization that there's no taking this back now. And meanwhile, Cassius disappears. Of course he does. If there's one thing General Hospital loves, it's a character fleeing before the truth fully surfaces. I can completely see Cassius abandoning Sidwell the second things go bad. Maybe he grabs cash, burns evidence, slips out of town before police even arrive. There's a possibility he convinces himself he was only following orders, which honestly would make him even more dangerous later because people like that rarely feel true remorse. They justify everything. And I swear, there's part of me wondering if Cassius leaving town is exactly what Sidwell wanted all along. See? This is where my brain keeps spiraling. Because what if Cassius knows something Sidwell cannot risk exposing? What if the kidnapping was never the main operation? Maybe it was a distraction. Maybe Josslyn was simply leverage while something else happened behind the scenes. Financial moves. Smuggling. Corruption. Something tied to Sonny's territory. I know maybe I'm overthinking this, but General Hospital has been dropping too many hints lately about hidden agendas and divided loyalties. It feels intentional. And then there's Josslyn afterward. I really need to talk about that because I don't think she walks away from this unchanged. In fact, I think this storyline could permanently alter how she sees Sonny. Imagine being rescued by him while also witnessing him shoot someone right in front of you. People keep acting like heroism and violence can exist separately in Port Charles, but they can't. Not anymore. Josslyn may feel grateful Sonny saved her life, while simultaneously being horrified by how naturally he pulled that trigger. Both emotions can exist together. That contradiction feels very real to me. And if you ask me, that emotional conflict is more interesting than the kidnapping itself. Because Josslyn has always lived near danger without fully belonging to it. But after something like this, after seeing blood spill because of her, I don't know if she can return to normal college life conversations and pretend none of this touched her. I keep coming back to the possibility that Sonny's rescue actually pushes her farther away emotionally. Not from gratitude. From fear. Not fear of him hurting her. Fear of understanding him. That's the difference. Once you understand why Sonny does violent things, part of you starts accepting them. And maybe Josslyn realizes that's exactly what terrifies her most. Meanwhile, Sidwell surviving the shooting almost feels inevitable to me. I'd actually be shocked if they killed him off this quickly. No, this feels more like the beginning of something uglier. Retaliation, secret surfacing, people choosing sides, Sonny crossing a line he cannot uncross. And somewhere out there, Cassius is still running. That part matters. Because fugitives in Port Charles rarely stay gone forever. Eventually, they come back carrying information like gasoline near a match. So now I keep asking myself the same question over and over again. Was Josslyn really the target here? Or was somebody trying to force Sonny into becoming the man he spent years trying not to be anymore?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.